was the greatest civilization in history. So advanced and powerful, it dwarfed anything that came before it. But like other great societies, it did not last. One day in the future, scientists may look back and investigate the colossal ruins, searching for answers to one haunting question. How could a civilization that mastered the planet suddenly collapse? From the wreckage, they piece together this remarkable story. The story of what on earth happened to us. Years from now, if our worst fears are realized, our world could look like this. Great cities lie abandoned. Incredible feats of engineering left to ruin.
There's a real possibility that first world civilization as we know it is going to decline or collapse within the next several decades. It all depends upon the decisions that we make.
It may seem impossible, but many experts agree our modern industrialized civilization could fall apart.
A collapse today would be the greatest disaster in human history. The overall society would simplify. Probably many of us would go back to an agrarian way of life. We would lose everything to which we have become accustomed.
To understand how our civilization could collapse, imagine it already has. In the year 2210, our descendants, the survivors, set out on a scientific expedition to figure out what went wrong. They know we faced many challenges, any of which could have brought us down. But which one was it? Somewhere, buried in the rubble, they hope to find the single factor that tore our world apart.
Many of the most advanced societies of the past ended up in ruins, although at the height of the Roman Empire or the height of Maya civilization, it would have seemed equally absurd that those great societies could ever collapse. Well, they did, and we could. It's a matter of life or death for us to understand why these past societies succeeded or failed.
Pulitzer Prize-winning author and scientist, Dr. Jared Diamond, believes we have arrived at a critical juncture in history. We're faced with a choice: to fail or succeed. Unlike the fallen civilizations before us, we can learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure our survival. In these cliff tops of Mesa Verde, Colorado, Diamond investigates what became of the Anasazi, the ancestral Pueblo people.
Looking at these ruins, the first big question for me is, why did they end up collapsing? Why did they put all this work into constructing this remarkable site and then abandon it? I have to wonder, are we going to make the same sort of mistakes that these people made and end up abandoning our own cities that archaeologists in the future will look at and say, oh, what beautiful ruins, where did they go wrong?
The Anasazi's rise to greatness began around 600 AD in a narrow valley in one of the continent's most desolate regions. At Chaco Canyon, they built their city of dreams. At its peak, Chaco was the hub that connected over 150 outlying communities across the Southwest. Like all great capital cities, Chaco is a magnet that attracts goods and people from all corners of the region.
Everybody around here would have heard about Chaco. There's this place hundreds of miles away where amazing things were built and lots of amazing things from Mexico were brought up. If you were traveling into Chaco from the north, and that was carefully engineered to bring you into a particular part of the canyon and bring them to the edge where the world drops away, and they would see Pueblo Bonito. They would see the city of Chaco down below them. It would have been incredibly dramatic. It's dramatic today. If you were living in the boonies and came to Manhattan, that would be the experience.
For over 2 decades, archaeologist Dr. Steve Lexon has been digging into the mystery of Chaco's astonishing rise and fall. From little more than dust, they built a metropolis. Long before the first skyscrapers of Chicago and New York, these buildings stood as the largest structures in what is now the United States. Five stories tall, with over 600 rooms, Pueblo Bonito is just one of 12 great houses that create the spectacle of Chaco.
Chaco Canyon was laid out to impress people that are coming from the outside the canyon. Big buildings, babbling brooks, the control of water would be a big architectural element here. Chaco would have been like the Emerald City of Oz. They're making a very strong statement about their power over nature by building the city here.
In this desert, success hinges upon managing the one resource they can't import: water. Chaco's irrigation systems are a marvel of the Pueblo world. They harness the meager rains that fall on the canyon by damming runoff flows on the cliffs above, storing water for the dry season. Populations increase. Chaco reaps the good times. But then cracks in their political system begin to appear.
When the city was really rolling along, they added these masses of interior rooms. There's a flurry of construction from 1075 on through the 1100s where they build bigger and bigger, and then the wheels come off, which is interesting.
The Anasazi are a desert people, used to living on a knife's edge. They had lived through many dry spells when the seasonal rains didn't come. But scientists have discovered from tree ring evidence that around 1130 AD, Chaco was hit by an unusually severe drought, lasting 50 years.
They'd weather droughts like that before, where there weren't so many people in the canyon. When that 50-year drought comes along, people start thinking that the guys in the capital aren't doing their job because it's their job to make it rain. When it quit raining, they couldn't sustain it, and it went to pieces.